Hello, everyone. I'm going to be giving you a tour of my current progress on my Duke Nukem 3D map that I'm making. This will be my first official map, I guess, in air quotes, that I'll complete. Otherwise, I've just really played around with the map editor. Um, there was a clear goal before I kind of start giving you the guided tour. It's not going to be very long, obviously. It's not done either. Um, but the real concept was to try to figure out how to do room over room, which is a technique in Mapster32 or the old Build Engine games where you could mimic 3D, because none of this is 3D. It's a 2D plane that's drawn on a piece of grid paper if you're not familiar with this editor. Or these games back in the day, similar to like Doom or Wolfenstein 3D. So the concept was I wanted to intentionally limit myself, which isn't working out very well. But the idea is I was going to limit myself to a square block. That's all I wanted to do. I wasn't really intending to make an actual level. I was going to be just using this as a way to learn the engine, learn the tricks, and just play around with details. So none of what you're going to see is final, especially the shading. I don't know if I'm actually going to make it day, if it's going to be night, where the sun's going to come from. So there's a lot of stuff I've just been playing for aesthetic purposes. But let's get going. So again, the main draw here, or the whole thing that's going to draw this together, is going to be this building here. The plan is it's going to have a below level that you can go to, as well as you can jump on top of the building. Right now, we only have one solid level, and we're waiting to expand downwards and upwards until once we get the finalized area out of the way, at least in terms of design. And I've disabled monsters just to make this a little bit easier. So this was the first thing I've tried to build out of sprites. So this is almost completely sprites with the exception of that little ladder holder here, which is not. So some of the stuff doesn't line up properly because there's some tricks and tips that I've learned after I did this that would have made this easier. I might actually redo this whole thing just to kind of make it a little bit smoother, but for the most part, you won't really notice the issues, I think. Um, and so I'm pretty happy with it. Now, we are using stock assets. So the idea and the intent here is to not use anything custom outside of what just comes with Duke Nukem 3D, specifically Atomic. I'm letting myself get some expanded textures from that. So that's partially what's been taking me so long as well, is trying to figure out how to make those textures fit. And sometimes I'll go to make something and find there's nothing appropriate, and I have to find a weird way of doing it. And I'm just also not the greatest, but we've started off here. Actually, this is the thing I just recently finished. It's just a facade, so it's just a way to break up the street. This is actually based on a building I saw while I was at a concert about a week ago, and I thought it was so ugly. Now, there's going to be a top layer here for all of these buildings. So the idea is this is just a base, and you're going to stack different detail layers on top of each other. And I'm just not sure how high it's going to be. And I'm going to have a train that goes around the entire place, mainly for ambience. I don't know if we're going to necessarily go into it, but again, this was never designed with gameplay in mind. I'm kind of slowly adding gameplay to it as I figure out what I'm going to do. So anyways, yeah, this is the building. That's what I just did today. Then we have our street section, which is kind of looking very nice in my opinion. I think it's looking like an actual street here. Um, Let me give myself some items just so I can maybe fly around too and get a better view. This car is not sprites. This is actually made out of pure geometry. This is before I really knew you could do stuff with sprites. I don't think I could have done this with sprites still the way I wanted it to. This was actually something I built in another test map I was working on, and I was learning how to copy and paste things, and I was able to bring it over here. So that was an easy way to fill out this section. And we're slowly, again, adding detail with every pass. Got some garbage buildup here I'm pretty happy about. Looking like a nice little street here. Um, these apartments I think are going to look good with maybe some balconies, I'm thinking. Then we have this bank. I do want to go into the bank. I'm thinking some revolving doors here would be nice in the middle, and you would enter the bank that way and maybe do some puzzle stuff. But in general, here's the bank. Again, I'm trying to break up the geometry as much as I can while still figuring out it's trying to figure out a sweet spot in my opinion where I want it to still look like Duke Nukem. The idea is anything I want to make it feel like it was maybe just a lost map or something. But at the same time, I do want to push the detail because the modern source ports we have do allow for that. So I'm kind of slowly just trying to figure out that happy medium for detailing. Again, none of the texture work is 100% final in this map, but I'm slowly kind of playing around with ideas every time I get to a section here. So there's some stuff it's probably pretty final, minus shading. These trees are not final. They're just an example of I want there to be a little park area here. So this is my temporary park area just to break it up. And again, you would be able to go maybe on top of the trees, inside of the trees, I'm thinking, with a little secret, because you will be able to go on top of the bank. And I want to have a little gargoyle on top. Again, with the advantage of room over room, is I can start to make it feel a little bit more detailed here. This is where you're going to see the subway go across. Right now, you can't go in this. I don't know. Again, I don't want to expand this too much outwards. It's really just supposed to be centered around the buildings and the city block here, just to, again, force myself to have a limit. I'll go in the diner now, actually, because really there's just this really path that links back to the starting area. I'm still not sure if I'm going to start here or where you're going to really begin. I started here thinking the ebb and flow of just slowly getting the scope of the map, where your first pass would be just running around this, and most of the area would be closed off to you, like you can go in the buildings, and you would be drawn into the only thing you could go into, which would be the diner here. Which I'm thinking would be a place you would run back and forth to as you start to maybe get some key cards to unlock other areas. So here's the little patio area. I've gone through different revisions of this. There used to be like a window here, for example. And again, just playing with some ideas and sprite work just to see like, well, how can I really pull off certain looks that I'm going for, like angling these chains. I was pretty happy with once I found out you could do that. There's some, again, quirks with the engine that I'm kind of playing with, but this awning, I'm thinking of, again, you could jump on. I'm just thinking of cool ideas that you could, maybe not cool, but in terms of mapping where I'm like, okay, yeah, you could go on top of this to break the illusion. Well, not break the illusion and sell the illusion in this case that we're in a 3D environment when we're really running around a 2D plane, especially when I want to build up. Now, problem is I don't really know how to do room over room, or at least I didn't when I started this. I just thought I did. So I have learned that. I did another tiny map outside of this just to learn the ebbs and flows of it. And so I think I get the basic concept. Here's the diner. Really, it's still a work in progress. I'm flipping back and forth between different areas just so I don't get burnt out in one area or another. I like the 50s style diner. I think it really sells it. This will be the kitchen, which will go into a basement, which will connect to that outdoor area, which will connect to the sewers as well. I don't really know what we're going to do in the sewers, but it's Duke Nukem, so you have to have a sewer level, obviously, or at least a sewer part. So this is the diner. I spent a lot of time in this area so far, just trying to make things work the way I want them to and look the way I want them to. This is actually based off of Bob's Burgers. So if you want to know the visual reference, this whole diner is actually going to be based on the design and layout of Bob's Burgers. It's not going to be a one-to-one. I didn't want to do Duke Burger. I want to do something else like as a subtle nod. And so we're going with Bob's Burgers here. And that's the basis. That's pretty much where we're at. You can't go in anything yet. There's no real working doors or much. Oh, I do have the sewer area here. So we got the sewer. And we can dive down here. And right now, this is all it is. It's just a little tunnel, and there was some eggs and some octobrains. So I have been placing monsters just to, oops, broken textures there, just to see what I was feeling. Um, and for this area here, again, I'm not sure what I really want to do with the sewer. Um, Maybe connect to some of the buildings, interiors, maybe just a way to fast travel to different sections. Maybe just a little fun little combat mission. I'm not sure, but again, I just wanted to play with as much stuff as I can, and so that's what we're doing here. And that's the level so far. It's it's been taking me weeks and weeks. I only work on this on weekends, and some weekends I take off. So it's a very slow process, especially since I'm learning this engine as I do it, and I have no experience editing maps at all. So this is going to be my first real experience, and that's where we're at so far. I'm gonna probably do updates. They're going to be much smaller videos as I go along, just mainly for my own records as well. So I just kind of wanted to do a general overview of this now that we're at this stage. And yeah, I'll keep you guys posted as I move on for anybody who's interested. Otherwise, this is really just for myself.